Herman Schepetkov. What is happening?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I don't know, talking.
Ah, that's what's happening. Like it's interesting because now something came. Okay, we're gonna get a tiny bit philosophical in this first minute because like what is happening always brings people to talk about things that have happened in the past and are happening in the future, but
Uh,
they never actually refer to what's happening is we're talking. That's cool. I
oh,
appreciate that.
that's just me being tired. But okay,
Mm.
okay.
You being tired. I mean, it's 9 a.m., man. You just woke up, no?
Yeah, that's exactly the issue here.
Okay, man. I
Would have
feel like
slept a tad longer. And also the
what?
weather today is like I would have slept a tad longer. And
Mm,
also the weather is like very gray today, looking
mm.
outside. So
Well, we're not going to go into the weather conversation if that's where you thought we're going. We're not. We're not in LA right now. We don't do that kind of stuff. We are. It's just the two of us. We're chilling here. We're gonna take it easy. Um, Man. So what's your story? I know that now you are focused on doing customs and doing bespoke and doing that kind of thing, but I want to know what led you and molded you to be where you are right now.
oh, I would say a bunch of coincidences and wrong decisions. And basically, I was right, like my dad's a musician, and he kind of taught me everything he knew, like from my birth on. Basically, it's like it's funny. I'm getting married soon, and we found all those photos where he kind of gave me some little pianos and flutes and all that stuff when I was like barely 1 year old. So I think I was destined to do music in the end, but
Mm.
still, like after school, tried some other paths. Went to engineering school. Kind of tried to get out of it as soon as possible. Started studying jazz bass and then electrical bass. And then at some moment, I was sent to Chicago with my now best friend from my university I was studying at that point, and we were thinking we were going to a band camp. So basically, I was a bassist. I had my bass rig and everything packed up, and we flew away. And my best friend only had basically his microphone and notebook because he's a singer songwriter, right? And yeah, we flew over and looked at the pieces, like where you get like installed. So what's your team and what are you doing? And both stated producer, and we were like, okay, this is what we're doing now. And both kind of had our MacBooks with us and bought Logic, and that was like the beginning of a whole producing music thing. It was just like we had no choice. So what I meant by wrong decision and mistakes and coincidences, somebody like basically and literally made a mistake and wrote the wrong names on the list, and they kind of, it was a mishap in the end. But we had a great time. We met our first mentors basically there, and I came back and basically stopped studying bass and started studying production at my school and in private as well. And kind of that led up to me being at SWI at some moment. So I started doing like all those internships and, met some awesome people. And at some point, I had the opportunity to meet Simon from SWI, and we worked a little bit. And then that movie came up they were working on in July 2019, I think. And then he called me and say, "What are you doing the next month?" And I was like, "Studying, don't know." And he said, "You're coming to Hamburg." And I'm like, "I'm coming to Hamburg." So I came to Hamburg and never left. So
That's
basically, that's a story. Yeah, it's cut short.
wow, wow, and yeah, and so you have moved on, right? And since then, you've been there for how long?
Oh, I think I was employed for nearly 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah,
And now you kind of branched to do your own thing, right? Lately.
exactly. So that's the whole idea. So at some point, it was a great time. Still, basically, is a great time because I'm still working closely with the guys, and I will continue doing that as long as they let me, of course.
Hmm.
Um, still at some point, me being somebody with like high expectations of myself, and high goals, I needed to kind of find that spot to, as you said, like branch off and do something on my own, and see what else is there in the world, which companies are there, what music is to be made, what trailers are also there, and also learn more stuff, right? So at some point, I recognized that, okay, I understand what I need to do to kind of meet a brief with Zwei. And I thought, okay, does that mean I can do that like everywhere? And so now I started like reaching out, talking to people. Man, things are different. Like everybody has different expectations, and it's really interesting, and really, actually, it's big fun to finally again learn new stuff and learn new approaches and see some other stuff. So been great until now.
Yeah. So to me, what I kind of extract from this is that I mean, you kind of roll with the punches
Yeah,
and you do it
exactly.
really well. And you do it really fucking well, apparently. If you work with people like Zwei and the do the things that you do, it's just being able to be fluid enough, to put yourself in situations that other people wouldn't be so happy with. I know that. I mean, if you would have written me as something else than what I am in a songwriting camp, I'd go, "What the fuck? You are wrong." Like, like something in my ego would be like, "No, this is not who you are," right?
Yeah.
Um, but something in you kind of lets you do that shift. Do you feel like there was something in you before that was calling you to change to production, or do you feel like it's something that you're kind of like that in your life? Like I know a few people who are like this, and I can never understand how they operate. So yeah.
Oh, to be honest, I do not completely understand if I understand that question. Could you a little bit rephrase for me, because my English just left me, just as I
my
said
phrasing is
before. This.
my phrasing is also horrible, so that it's not a big coincidence. But look, so what really catches me in your story is the fact that you've had a few times where you had to pivot without your consent, basically, like like you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You mean like okay, I see. So you're saying that kind of things happen, and I had to adjust like quickly, and just not knowing what I'm doing, and just kind of leaving my comfort zone. You mean that?
Exactly.
That's a good question, because actually I'm very ego driven and try to do everything as I wish, or try to sculpt things as I want them to be. But you're right, actually, when time comes, and if something happens where I see opportunity in, maybe, so I'm seeing, okay, this could be interesting, and I do not know how to do it, but that could be the way of learning it. I'm very much willing to make that jump.
Mm.
So I think that's more than what's happening, especially if I have people around me from whom I know they're kind of better at something than me. Like in that Chicago situation, I knew like the guy who entered me as a producer. He was producing incredible names. I knew his music, and I was like, wait, if I kind of accept this, I could learn from him. Let's go.
Mm.
That's
Wow.
kind of a big part of it.
Yeah. I mean, I could see myself in that situation, especially in a younger age, and I would go like, "Oh," I would see that, and I would just all get all constricted, and that's why I feel like that's why I started this podcast initially. It's just like to understand mindsets of people who do stuff like you do, because I didn't. I didn't, and I feel like there's something in the ego of an artist that always says I'm an artist,
Yeah.
and it resonates with something that a lot of the time is very negatively driving, like, oh, he's getting more of this than me, or oh, what is, like, the comparison thing, and a lot of these things. And I feel like it's a very unique ability to go in as a student. So is that, do you feel like you entering the custom space, do you feel like it's a direct continuation of what you used to do, or do you feel like it's a new learning experience for you?
It is an incredible new learning experience. Like, I didn't even like, you know, most people like are saying that Swy is kind of like the one of the highest ranking trailer music companies, and the quality is high and stuff. And you know, and I agree. And me coming from that, I thought, like, to be like, I'm being quite honest here. I thought, okay, this can't be so difficult. That can't be so tough, right? Because I'm
Mhm.
coming from Swy, I know stuff. Reality? No. Like, as I said, like, everything is like completely different. What on one hand could be like judged as quality and production value, for another company that's complete trash, and it's just like the rubbish they want to get rid of, like, on the same day. Like, you send something in and
Mhm.
you're thinking, okay, I did that so beautiful, like, it's so perfectly executed, and like the first comment is, okay, could you get rid of that? And I was like, what the fuck, like, are you serious? You know, I was really, you know, like, felt like I was really like, I was really mad about it, really
Yeah,
upset, and I need to
yeah.
really calm down for a couple of hours before I could answer that mail, because I was really, what? But now
Mm.
like I start to understand, like, like there are like not only one recipe. For instance, what we at Zwei do very well, I think, is like these big orchestrations and hybrid things and that rich sounding thing. But how can you operate that way if you need like hi-fi modern sounds, which, like, coming from that may even sound cheap, but it's like state of the art, and it's not cheap. It's like very
Mhm.
difficult to achieve in the end.
Right.
And that's the interesting thing, and that's what I like about it right now, because I'm learning a whole bunch of new stuff. Like, how can you achieve, and the people can't see it, but I'm doing, you know, a generic sound,
Yeah.
and it's like everything. If you try to do something generic and say that's so easy, you end up discovering it's not easy at all,
Right.
and you need to put a lot of work into to achieve that polished and highly synthetic in the end sound, for instance. So coming from that, and I have experienced that with several companies. It's an awesome learning experience right now, because for me, I can learn that and start to combine with what I already know, right? And so new music happens, and I get new ideas, because, of course, at first I'm very upset about it. Like, I feel like this is good, and you have that, you know, like, this is the artist ego.
Yeah.
But then you discover, nice, I now have this, and I have this in my toolbox, and now I understand how I can achieve that, you know? So it's great. But as you said, you need to kind of put yourself in that student position and forget your ego for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, keeping. I feel like it's exactly, you're hitting the nail on the head right there. When I feel like the projects where I got roasted on the most are the projects that I've grew the most, for sure. Like,
Yeah, I
easily, I
agree.
can say that that's 100% been my journey of, like, when I did a whole hip hop trailer album by myself. Was it, I don't know, last year I think it was. And it took me, basically every track was about 11, 12 revisions. And I'm at the point where, they're giving me opinions about so many things that they didn't give in the first revision, but now it jumped, and it's just like this shit show, um, that in the end has polished me like nothing else. I mean,
Mm.
I was it was such a crazy roller coaster for me to do it by myself, and you know what? Like, after that, I decided I'm not doing these things anymore by myself, because it's fucking annoying to do all the like, to do all the things, in my opinion. So I love collaborating.
Yeah, I mean, collaborating space is already is it's like always interesting, but I mean, if I'm collaborating with somebody, I always try to aim for 50-50. And I mean in effort and in music and in money in the end. I find
Yeah.
this is the most fair. I don't need to collaborate with some like if it's less, then it's not a collaboration. When it's somebody hiring somebody, in my opinion,
Mm.
right? So if it's a real collaboration, some like everybody brings something to the table and we do it together and we mix it up and we kind of come to a conclusion, to a result. We finish it together. We like till the end, like the opinions, even about mix and mastering, will like we will have like discussions about that. In the end, it's 50-50. So
Right.
nobody's charging anybody here. Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
So.
No. No, I'm kidding. I'm loving this conversation. Yeah, I feel like, that's, the thing is, yeah, I like the fact that you brought up collaboration, and I feel like there's different types of collaborations, right? Like there's out of the blue collaborations, and there's, people collaborations.
Yeah.
If Zwei hit you up for a collaboration, you know what's up. Like you know how they
Exactly.
do things, right? And and that's why I feel like it's very important to have a few people who are really easy to work with, and just like have them on tap, kind of thing, where everybody knows the deal and there's no need to clarify again and again and again and again, because yeah, these things also take time. And
Yeah,
I've
absolutely. And it's annoying.
I've just I've just realized, like, lately, how much of my time and energy is, I'm realizing late, I've been kind of putting thought into how much of my time is going into things that I actually don't need to be putting my time into.
Yeah.
And I
Absolutely.
feel like that's why people, like, even the Obama thing, where he would have his thing is he would have the same, like, about 20 of the same suit, and then he
Mm.
wouldn't need to choose suits, because he has his gray suit, and that's the suit that he wears all the time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make him more or less or anything. It just takes one decision off his, decision
Agenda.
list.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm thinking about it. It's like, I feel like having mental minimalism is very, very key in
Mental
the case of,
minimalism is a great term. I like
yeah,
that.
mental minimalism. I just coined the term, but I feel like, I mean, like, just having the least clutter in our head, because already artists are kind of cluttered people.
Yeah.
So like, there's all that, and there's, just, art in general. It's such a, and you were saying that that you're getting married, and I feel like, our loved ones, our partners, are really need to be special people to understand us. Unless they're
Oh
artists,
yes. Oh
they need to
yes.
be really special people, because our pursuit is a very selfish one.
Truth.
um
Yeah. Truth.
yeah.
Truth spoken.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, and I feel like, I feel like back to the point, I feel like collaborations are things that we have to, um cultivate, and nourish, and also know that some, and for me, like, some collaborations, like, if somebody comes out of the blue and they want me specifically, again, it's something that I know. And sometimes I feel like it's legitimate to charge for this too, because if they came to me for something that I can offer, and they come to me for this, then sometimes that's on the table too, and that's,
Yeah.
to me,
Absolutely.
that's
But
the game.
I feel um like I would diversify here. I think that what you just said is for me not feeling like a collaboration,
Mm,
because if you say they're coming to you for something specific, they actually are buying a skill. You know what I mean? So
mhm,
it's something they are buying something they can't provide themselves. They need you. So they're kind of buying that in. And in that case, I understand that idea of charging.
yeah.
Absolutely. But if it's like a collaboration, so working together, developing something together, I think it's always like I cannot really imagine a situation where I would charge for that. If it's like that case, what I have in my head, which would be, for instance, some guy happens to me like quite often. It's really interesting. There's one artist. His name is Shailoom.
Oh yeah, amazing
His real
producer.
name is, I love it, man.
Yeah.
Real name is John. So he came up to me and said, "Okay, I have that beat, and I love your orchestral work. Can you do something?" You know, and it didn't even cross my mind to charge that man something, because
Oh
it
yeah.
was like, okay, he gave me that whole hip hop track in the end, threw it on my table, and said, "Okay, do something." And I took it apart, did what I thought was right, and we did a little bit of back and forth. And basically, he put his 100%, I put my 100%. In the end, it's 50-50. All good, all wonderful, all beautiful, you know? Although, basically, he's coming to me for a special skill, which means I'm contradicting myself here a little bit.
Mm.
But it was still a collaboration, because I was kind of allowed to, he said, do whatever you want to the music. And I did whatever I wanted to the
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
And he just happened to like it in the end, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that like best when working with people. And also, of course, I think there is like a possibility to work with people who will just like, they won't stop taking all of you, you know, like they would start and just like, okay, can you do that and that and that and that and that and that and that. But I think when collaborating with somebody, I would recognize that fairly early, and would say, okay, we're not working like this together. That
Mm.
does make no sense.
Yeah.
But maybe I got lucky until now, and I always working with people who are just like nice guys and say, okay, let's make music together, and there's
Yeah.
like real spirit behind it, and that's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
cross my mind to charge those people.
Yeah. I like the distinction you're making for sure. I feel like also if I adore somebody's skills, like Shilum is top. Like he's really good at what he does. Like you can see also his placements, and I've been following him for a minute, and his trajectory is amazing. There's no reason I
Yeah,
would say there's no chance in the world I would just say no to a collaboration with somebody like that. I feel like that's all that also comes into work. But so here's where it comes in for me, and it's interesting. It's like when something's kind of generic
hmm,
and people are coming in to sprinkle my magic on it. um I feel like I can charge for it.
yeah,
And first of all, and of course, if it's a friend of mine, I would not. Like if it's a homie of mine, if it's somebody I've collaborated with, if it's somebody who we are, we are in the same place. We're in the same. We're kind of in the same mindset. I don't even, it doesn't even cross my mind. I've had a really dope composer, trailer composer friend who's given me a brief last week. Next day he had the track done. Boom. Like I didn't even ask about. He told me where it's going and the label it's going to, and that's it. No questions asked. Um, and this is what I feel like. It comes in two ways. It
mm.
comes in Savais, but it comes in two ways, and I feel like that's, as I said, I feel like it's important to do the distinction and to give the things the place they deserve in our hard drive, because we do have limited time. We do have a
Yeah,
limited time to make music. We do have a limited time to live on this fucking giant rock that we're on, and and I feel like, and it's happened to me a few times where I just wasn't happy doing it,
yeah,
and I had to
yeah.
ask.
I know that feeling. Yeah,
Yeah, and I had to ask myself, like, why is it happening to me? Why is it happening for me? And like, it's in the end of the day, it's it's just about exploration. I feel like our field, if we are not constantly students, we're behind.
absolutely, absolutely. I find that to be true in every field.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
if you want true mastery of basically anything, you need to stay curious, and you need to always stay open minded and always look for the next. Okay, that's a possibility of doing it, or that's an idea. Always, you can discard it later, but it's not a shame to ask for help. It's not a shame for looking at stupid YouTube tutorials, for instance. So I'm absolutely with you.
Yeah, I've recently learned how to mix. Like I've been trying my like for probably 10 years, but then like I've started writing music for this label, and they started directing me to some YouTubes to in order to get better results for them,
Yeah,
and they were kind of mentoring me like that, and it's just like, I had the right people send me the right videos, the right information,
yeah.
and I feel like that's why it's fun. That's why this space is kind of fun, because it's inclusive in a way that other spaces aren't. It
That's true. If you
enables,
meet the right people, and if you are able to, if somebody like you are established composer, if somebody sends you a fucking YouTube tutorial on how to mix, you could react differently.
right,
You
right,
know what I mean? Yeah, like you can
right.
also react like, "Are you insulting me?" That's a possibility
I
as
mean,
well. But
bro,
obviously, you
I do
reacted
have,
right.
yeah, I do have tracks in all the labels, right? But there was this one thing that I wasn't doing right, and I was open enough to explore that instead of saying, "Damn, I have extracts in BMG and extracts
Yeah,
in Warner Chappell and Universal. I don't fucking need you," and stuff like that. But in the end of the day, I feel like my wanting to learn has, I feel like in the end of the day, if it doesn't surpass my ego, then I'm in the wrong place.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
True.
doing the wrong thing. And that's a huge thing for me. I feel like it's been in the last year and a half, it's just like finding that groove of what really lights me up, and what can I make a living off, like what can I really make a living in this industry doing. Where's my space, where's my place? Because again, with what you're doing with customs, which you've gotten into lately a lot, it's a very, very, very scary thing, in my opinion, to the way that I see it, because you can do customs for months without getting any placements, right? And then you suddenly like get five in a row or something like that, and then again, I know people who have made the high six figures, and this year cannot like pay rent, kind of thing, so it's just
Yeah,
like,
but if you made high six figures before, that's an artist problem. If you made
you
high
need to
six
save,
figures
you need to do
before,
your
you,
accounting, right?
yeah, exactly. You need to put your shit together and not like if you have high if you may have oh Jesus, my English is leaving me again. If you have made high six figures, when you are able to pay your freaking rent for the next 5 years, and if you're
Right,
not, you are
right,
failing big time at
right.
something.
Right, right. But
That's
again, it's just like it's just it's the equivalent of a rapper with a bad label deal,
yeah,
and,
true.
like, and it's okay. I feel like all of us are young. In the end of the day, not all of us, but a lot of us are young, and we don't know how to manage our money. I can say that for myself. I'm not the best at it. I'm learning. I'm actively learning how to do it, but if I'm being completely honest, it's I can see how, like, I would get high on my own supply if I suddenly see
Mm,
huge success. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um,
I understand.
yeah. So I feel like that's just a huge thing where, um, I see in custom composers sometimes where they kind of get worn out because they lose
Yeah,
this curiosity, because they lose hope, and
I
and
can understand that happening. I can
yeah,
absolutely see that. Um, I think that's interesting. Like for me, like first of all, just to put one more thought on that money topic.
please.
Um, I think I am so scared of the last job I want being the last job I ever win. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
That that thought is preventing me from spending money.
ooh,
So that thought or that actually it's a type of anxiety, I would say, but I have that in me. I know that feeling, so I know that basically it's that could be the last one. So that's why I'm I'm not thinking this is the next and now the next is coming. So, but I'm thinking, okay, that was big. Maybe that was the biggest, and that's it. So yeah. And on the other hand, I know that like I'm special, you know, I'm special in one point. When I'm working on brief, I'm not working on brief. And that's annoying the crap out of people. But if I'm reading a briefing, I often get carried away and decide that is better than the initial brief, actually, in my opinion. And I sign it off. And people are like, that's not what I briefed. And I'm saying, I actually don't really care. Listen again. Maybe it's good, you know? And then we work our way back into something.
Mm.
And being that type of guy, I'm used to losing a lot of pitches because, like, and with kind of with the answer, okay, this is great, but not what I'm asked for. And on one hand, that this is great, but kind of keeps me going as well because it says, and people coming back as well, like, okay, this is like a good piece of music, but maybe not for this. And so basically very used to that. And at some point when I lost enough, I'm getting mad at myself and I'm trying to stick more to briefs and it kind of brings me to the cut again. So for me, it's like a journey of I want something, so I don't care and I do something of what is artistically valuable for me,
Mm.
even if it
Mm.
doesn't hit the brief. Most of the times it doesn't stick. Sometimes it does. And that's like, like this is the greatest thing ever. If you're like completely off brief and you're feeling it, and the
Mhm.
client's feeling it, that's great. But it doesn't
Yeah.
happen too often, of course.
I've
But you know,
There's a funny thing that happened to a friend of mine. He one of his tracks, one of his like drawer tracks. He was working with a new agency, and they asked him for his drawer tracks because he didn't have time to work with them, and he gave it to them. One of his drawer tracks that he got all like creative and whatever, and a few months later he gets this like sync, just like boom,
mm,
and it's just interesting. I feel like that's another angle that things can come from. Like if one fails in a venture and then like you find a home for that venture, it's not time wasted. uh,
exactly. It's never time. Creating music is never time wasted.
mm,
Absolutely never. You can always, it can be always repurposed. And even if it's mean like you can fail 10 times in the same way, you got an album, you got an LP. It's
right.
done, you know?
Yeah.
So it's never wasted, basically. Well, it is wasted when you're doing covers all the time.
Yeah.
That's true at some point because you can't just like license them by yourself.
Right.
It's but if it's original music, it's never wasted.
Yeah. 100%, man. Okay. We're coming on the hour, so I got a question. If what is a piece of advice you would like to leave people with, who, if you would have, okay, let me phrase it a bit differently. If you had to give people advice who want to follow your steps, what advice would you give them?
Don't. Joking. Um, um, you mean like getting into the sync world and or
I
in
mean,
general or
I feel
creating
like,
music for pictures or
yeah, like doing what you're doing. I mean, if people would want to follow your trajectory and kind of follow your steps, what would be a good piece of advice you would give them that maybe you didn't get as you were coming up?
Um, oh, that's a good question because honestly, I was given a bunch of advices, for instance, from Christian and Simon from Zwei, which kind of led me here. And I'm happy to say that I got all the advices I needed. And I think one of the most powerful is don't stop. You can't expect yourself to come into a space and be the best at it like in the first day. You can't expect to win all the time. You can't expect yourself to win all the time. You need to stay patient. I think patience is maybe it's cliche to say, but I think patience is the most important thing in the whole industry. Like most people consider themselves to be so good and so blah blah blah, but they lack patience. They lack like that momentum of you're doing the thing and you need to do it maybe 1,000 times until something sticks. Maybe that's the truth and you need to expect it. You can be good, but maybe you are not good for that one project. Maybe not for 900 projects, but maybe for the 901st, you know? And that's not only patience, that's also consistency. I think patience and consistency together is kind of key in music industry in general, I would say, but especially in sync, especially in like that basically advertisement project based domain where it's not about you. Maybe that's another one to understand.
Go.
It's not about you. It's about
Mhm.
of are you able to uh, put the product in a better space than it was before you came. You know what I mean? Like, is your music, is it what you're contributing here? Is it like value adding, or is it a show off for yourself? Also, a
Mhm.
thing which, in my opinion, comes with patience and consistency, like learning when to step back and dwell on your ability of not putting your ego through your musical ego. I mean, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Three
Yeah,
twices in one.
that's huge. I mean, again, and that's something I feel like I'm still learning, or yeah, so kind of navigating, struggling with, whatever you'd call it. And I genuinely think that it's a forever pursuit, and we have to stay just. I feel like we have to stay comfortable in our own skin for that. Like,
Yeah,
just know that's it. We need to be kind of stoic about it, because that's just, we have to keep that patience going, but also give ourselves some grace, and give ourselves some love, and not hate ourselves for maybe not doing the right steps for a long time. And
yeah.
that's cool, because like I feel like that's what who says it? I don't remember who says it, but one of the a great book that I've read, and I don't remember the name. It says that every good thing comes out of usually a disappointment. Like every big thing
Mm,
comes out of a disappointment, or something that wasn't supposed to go as supposed. Just like your Chicago thing, and
yeah,
and and I feel like that's also the thing that we need to keep ourselves in check is, are things happening to us? Like, regardless good or bad, are things happening, or is there movement? Like, of course we have to stay patient, but is there any movement for us? Is there any, like, are we creating better music? Uh, um are we doing something good with it? Are we collaborating with cool people? Like, is something happening that is prone to bring that maybe low moment or high moment? Or is there anything that we can kind of hold on to as we're navigating the space? And
yeah,
I think that that's an important thing that comes from, in the end of the day, knowing oneself.
yeah.
And
And
yeah,
getting to know yourself as well.
yeah.
But that's interesting. That's an interesting conclusion. So basically, as long as things are happening, everything's good. Doesn't
I
mean,
mean,
like,
right? I feel like it's interesting because it's an interesting observation that I've made, because it's not completely right. Because I mean, like, if everyone around me is dying from a sickness or something, that's a pretty fucking shitty low to have, right?
yeah,
But if things are happening, and and I feel like they are a result of something, and I can and I know that I'll climb out of them a better, stronger version of myself. I feel like even the worst things, like what I described before, it takes a new proportion. That's why I feel like a lot of the times I envy people who have religion to rely on, because they're just like, it's all from Allah, or all from God, or all
yeah,
from whatever, and then they just make peace with what is.
true.
And that got really deep, but I feel like that's
Oh,
that's
it's
where,
absolutely true.
yeah. And
Obviously,
yeah.
as you told me before, you grew up in a religious environment as well, right? Like me too,
Kind
to
of,
be honest. Me
yeah.
too. I grew up in a Jewish environment, and a really Like my granddad being a rabbi,
Wow.
um, he he wanted me to be religious, and that's a sad thing. That's the reason in the end I turned up not to be, because it was
Yeah.
too much pressure on you need to do that.
Yeah.
But I experienced that he could, like, it's not like blame everything on the heavens. It's not blame. It's like you have a certain peace. You have just a certain peace if you, like, completely convinced of things are like they are and there's a reason behind it.
Mm.
Instead of, like, us being obviously non-religious now, we're looking for reasons. Why is that happening? Why is that
Right.
happening to me? And that's kind of, yeah, that's hard. Like, thinking about that, that's a new thought for me as well. Now, I haven't thought about that for a long, long time. Yeah. So it's interesting. You need to basically find something in yourself, basically, to say, it's not like, why is it happening for me? But it's for greater good. I learned this. I learned that. I can go on because of, like, we have to kind of own it. You have to own it.
Yeah. I've
That's
heard a
interesting.
I've heard a really interesting terminology, and somebody coined the term "the eye of the storm,"
Yeah,
and uh, um, and it just means that basically when shit's going crazy around you, you have to find the eye of the storm. You have to find the place where everything is quiet, regardless
yeah,
of things that are falling around you. If you are in the storm, you cannot you cannot really put your whole creative being into something.
absolutely
and
not. Yeah, that's true.
and that's why I feel like the eye of the storm is I actually plugging a song of mine actually that I put out a few months ago with a dope label with Artlist, and it's called Eye of the Storm. And yeah, it's about that. It's just about being able to, like, not even to see what's ahead or what's behind. It's just like being completely in the mercy of the moment, but also being in a place that is as quiet and as centered as possible.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's the eye of the storm.
What a beautiful
Uh,
place that would be.
yeah, yeah. I can't say I find it every time, but it's beautiful to be there, especially when things are harder. Um, so yeah, brother, I want to ask you another thing, one more thing before we get off this, and
Please
it's
do, please do. I'm learning things about myself here for you.
what is something you're grateful for?
Something I am grateful for. Um, right, first thought was my wife to be, but I think you asked your question should be more related to music, I think. And if
No,
that
no.
is, well, but in that case, it's definitely my wife to be. But being able to always, and that's something we musicians forget, being able to always convert my emotions into music, actually.
Mm,
Being able to always, if I want to, I can pick up anything standing around here or even sing, I don't know, and just, being able to really express that, not even knowing what I'm doing, like, that's actually, when I think about it, that's something I'm most grateful for. I can always express myself even without knowing I'm doing that in that moment. But it's an outlet. It's an outlet for everything. Music is life.
yeah. Hell yeah. If people want to connect with you, how do they do that?
Hit me up on every channel. I'm pretty, like, reactive on Instagram or LinkedIn, or yeah, Instagram, LinkedIn. That's basically the best. And I'm always, 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 always looking for great collaborations, people to work with. Always open to, experience and learning new stuff about music. And um, so hit me up, everybody.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in the show notes. And yeah, bro, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me. Like, really, I thought it was going to be an interview. Now I've gone through a spiritual journey in the past hour. I'm
Hell
not even joking. It's true. It's true.
yeah. Hell yeah.